You have found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, me and Pat are going to discuss the Bulls losing a game to the Indiana Pacers at home, despite showing us a little bit of flash there in the fourth quarter. We're also going to talk about a big night from Patrick Williams when he led the Bulls in scoring on tonight's game. And after a year, we have an injury update on Lonzo Ball. We're going to talk about all and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze, and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central podcast and YouTube pages. And today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for first deposit match up to $100. Pat, Chicago Bulls, man, they know how to reel us back in, man. That run in the fourth quarter, what was it, like a 16-1 run? And then they started the run with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. By 4 minutes in the fourth quarter, the Bulls had not only taken a 3-point lead, but then had turned around into a 6-point deficit, all in 4 minutes of game time. It's crazy being a Bulls fan, bro. It's ridiculous. It's just, this is what we've signed ourselves up for. The Bulls do end up losing this game 120-104 against the leading offense in the league. How you feeling about it, Pat?
Listen, the run was fun. The run was great, but the one thing that I noticed about the run was the size matchup. None of their bigs were out there except for Jalen Smith, who, I mean, listen, they have really found something with that young man, and he's somebody that it can have a really, really bright future on that team. It is a team with a lot of size, and we saw that all night. I mean, Miles Turner is out there, Jalen Smith out there, throwing Obi Toppin in there as well, right? Like, you saw a lot of size on the court, and it really caused the Bulls a lot of issues, and they had no answers for it. And the number one thing for me, right, I talked about in the last game, the matchup down low. What was that going to be like? Well, it didn't exist, because lo and behold, Andre Drummond had 3 fouls in the first half and put the Pacers in a bonus situation in the second quarter with 7 minutes to go. It's amazing when you actually pay attention to what happens on the court, how you can kind of predict that stuff coming, ain't it? But like, I like what we saw from Drummond last game. This game is the exact reason why, to me, he can't be a starter, because he was a guy that you could only play 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, still with your size matchup, because he just, how they were moving on the court, there was too much size, too much length, and too much agility for Andre Drummond to be out there.
I really feel like you said size a little bit too much in that little rant, man. I don't understand why you kept going to the word size so often.
I mean, what would you like me to say? They were too big? That's the what would you like me to go with there, bud? What's your go-to? Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like, I look at it as a situation where the Bulls got on a run due to Dalen Terry getting hot, right? He hyped them up, had an amazing night tonight. Moms was in the building. By the way, never mind. I'm not. But we're here. We're here.
Hey, listen, we're brothers. Here. We're brothers. I know exactly what you were thinking before you even thought it. But we're going to leave that there. We're just going to leave it there. We're going to leave it there.
And I know a lot of people were calling for Adama Sanago to get into the game, and I get it, right? I was looking for him to get into the game a little bit as well, right? But it got to a point when they had Obi Toppin, Jalen Smith, and Miles Turner out there where there's just too much length and agility, bro. Like, Adama Sanago is a big man that, very much like Drummond, you would have been in a similar situation. I will say, no Julian Phillips was crazy. No Julian Phillips was a little bit insane to me.
Well, the thing that makes it so crazy about the whole Julian Phillips thing is just this, is that, we saw him for a stretch there. He was getting only 4-6 minutes, whatever it was. And then, Torrey Craig goes down and then you just don't get any minutes at that point. Like, that's the thing that's not really, it doesn't make any sense. You think you would want to, like you're seeing with Dalen. Dalen is playing better consistently with more minutes. He's getting slowly there. But it's like, why take away time from your young guy when you have such a big part of your bench that goes down, and he theoretically could add in a lot of what I don't know. I don't get Billy Donovan when it comes down to things like that.
I just feel, and listen, I think Billy did. There were a lot of moments where I felt like he did a really poor job coaching tonight. I thought that stretch where they came back and Billy Donovan was just like, yeah, we're not going to utilize any timeouts now. He only had 2 timeouts in that stretch where they kind of came back. But I felt like that was a really bad moment for Billy Donovan as a whole, coaching wise. There wasn't much of an adjustment, and bro, like it was weird because like I praised him for an adjustment. Maybe Drummond just did it on accident, but it was one play. He didn't switch. He dropped back. He was in front of Miles Turner, and Kobe White stayed with his man. And I was like, a defensive adjustment. This is genius. And then we just never saw it again. So it was a tough game. And it was one where, to me, the Bulls were outmatched personnel-wise, not play-wise.
By the way, Dalen Terry's mom's Instagram, you may want to check that out, y'all. Just a little throw into that. But yeah,
I was just shouting out that she was in the building. I was just shouting out that she was in the building. I'm just shouting out that she was in the building. You went all the way to the IG, bro. That's insane activity, bro. That's nasty work, bro. That's nasty.
It's a public IG. How's it nasty work?
That's
it's public.
Nasty work, bro. You scouted out the IG on a podcast, bro. We're live right now. There's people watching.
Hey, listen, it's all right. But with that said, man, this game was large part disappointing, and I agree with you. I understand the thing of using Adama Sanogo, and the fans wanting to see it, especially Terry Taylor's just garbage. Like I know he gave us some really good minutes at points last season, and he even played really good against the Bulls a couple of seasons ago. But like to me, I can understand why people are going to yearn for Adama Sanogo. But really, what this comes down to is what you said and what you let it off with. Andre Drummond, despite what he says with a starter's mentality, all that, he's not a starter in the modern NBA. He's just not.
No, he's not, and it's not a slight to him. Doesn't mean that he can't spot start. Doesn't mean that he can't get in and give you games like that. And I think the one thing that I do want to see is when he has the hot hand, you keep going to him. When he's having that game, you don't go away from him. You don't shy away from him. But there's just something about Andre Drummond being in the game that when he plays against centers who play a similar style to him, he can absolutely destroy them. When he plays against centers who can stretch the floor a little bit, like Miles Turner, causes them a lot more trouble, causes them a lot more problems. And I think that that's one of the main issues that we saw tonight. And I think on top of that, right, like you can't undersell everybody. I get it, right? Like Vooch is out. Andre Drummond has a huge game, but you look on the other side of that with Kobe White. Right, like a lot of those wide open shots that Kobe White gets, they come from Vooch passes at the beginning of a play, right? You get the ball down to Vooch off a pick and roll, he pops out, the ball moves, all of a sudden Kobe White's sitting wide open because of how much of a threat he is to pop, to get in the mid-range, to get down low, be able to make a lay. Yeah, I mean, like Andre Drummond's rolling.
Yeah,
it's a pick and roll. That's all you got. There's no pop. There's no three. There's no.
It's a pick and roll. That's it.
He's a pretty good
pick and roll. That's all it is.
No, he's not a good passer. He's not a good
he's an okay passer at times. You don't want him like you don't want him passing when the defense is set in, but he's pretty good transition.
Yeah. But it's just I just feel like this team tonight, and that was the problem, right? Yes, you had size in theory when you're talking about the Chicago Bulls having Andre Drummond, having Adama Sanogo, having Julian Phillips, right? But two of the guys you don't utilize at all. One, because Adama Sanogo is kind of just smaller Andre Drummond. That's how it kind of feels a little bit. And maybe he can change that narrative. I hope that he can. But on the flip side of that, right, like Andre Drummond, you couldn't play him in the fourth quarter at all. Like you put him out there to I want to say 2 minutes of the fourth, I believe he played. And then you immediately had to pull him out because the team fell off a cliff. You put Dalen Terry back in because he wasn't able to rotate defensively the same way.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if you saw it too. So after the game, apparently Kobe White's been dealing with a wrist injury for a while now.
Yeah, I did see that as well. He's had the wrist taped up.
So, maybe that contributes to it. Do you think that Kobe White gets out this slump sooner rather than later? Or do you think a lot of people are saying he went on a Linsanity run? Some people are saying it was a flash in the pan with his current shooting slump. How are you feeling about it, Pat?
I think the big thing about Kobe White and this part cracks me up. CNBA guys, they send out scouting reports on everybody. Everybody gets figured out, right? Here's the question that you have to ask yourself. Is this the moment where Kobe White takes his next step? Is this the moment where Kobe White is able to, okay, they figured me out on that. They're playing me up a lot more on the three-point line. I'm not getting the easy shots that I was getting at one point. How do I adjust from that? How do I finish off better at the rim? How do I get downhill a lot easier, a lot quicker? How do I create open shots for myself down low? That's the next step for Kobe White, because if he adds that to his game, then guess what? That's how you become the Tyrese Halliburtons. That's how you become the Stephen Currys, right? Where you get to a point where it's like, well, we can play off of him. No, we can't play off of him because he shoot three. We can play up on him. He's going to drive right past me, right? And he's going to be able to get downhill. Guys are attacking Kobe White differently these last few games. And you saw it in this Pacers game. They were not letting him get any breathing room the second he got past half court.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the biggest key is just, let's see if Kobe White can take that next step. Because I think that they've kind of figured out, we know how he's going to get to his spot, what he's going to do. And I think mentally, maybe it shifted Kobe a little bit, because he was more hesitant than I've ever seen him in this run tonight. He was very hesitant to pull the three ball until he kind of had to.
Yeah, and this was, you could definitely tell, especially down the stretch. But we're gonna have to get into the next topic, which was a big night for P. Will. But before we get into that, I got to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that is eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On fantasy basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're preparing for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, each and every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked out on this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. And I'm actually going to go to a team that continues to extend that record on the most losses in a row, and that is Jaden Ivey with the Detroit Pistons. Now, Manny Williams is starting to actually play Jaden Ivey some, and out of the last 5 games, he scored over 20 points in 4 of those. So there's something that's going on there with Jaden Ivey. Now, the wins aren't coming, but this is about fantasy basketball. This is about helping your fantasy team. Just tonight, for example, against Boston, Jaden Ivey in 33 minutes scored 22 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 block. And he did that on 53% shooting and 60% shooting from three-point range. Right now, Jaden Ivey, outside the game against Brooklyn, has been scoring in over 20 points per game, doing it fairly efficiently at that as well. He may be a very good pick for you up on your waiver wire if he's there on your fantasy team. Pat, are you picking up Jaden Ivey?
I'm trying to get the Bulls to trade for Jaden Ivey. Let's see if we can get Zach LaVine out in Detroit, man. I'm just saying. I told y'all, I think that young man can ball, and Monty Williams just hates him. I don't know.
Yeah, I know you're big on Jaden Ivey, but with that said, man, Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball.
I would not dip my toe in him, though. I would not dip my toe.
It's going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items and exclusions do apply. All right, Pat, so with the game that the Chicago Bulls had, in which most games, there's always some type of bright light in it, I guess, if you want to take that away from it. Today it was P. Will playing aggressively at a time where the Bulls really weren't scoring well. It really was him who was helping him do that. He goes 9 of 14 from the field, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, surprisingly no blocks. He's been the best non-center shot blocker in the NBA, rim protector in the NBA. 22 points in this game. How you feeling about P. Will's performance?
Listen, I talked about this in my watch party. Got to make sure I say that the right way now. Talked about this in the watch party when I looked at P. Will's game tonight. It just felt like he was the third option. Like it felt like he was the third option in the offense for the first time. Tonight's the most shots that P. Will has taken all season long. And it's not even that many. He took 14 shots. He went 9 for 14, 2 for 5 from the three-point line, had 5 total rebounds. 14 shots is the most shots he's taken this season.
He's done it 3 times. So yeah, but he's always like that 14 is there. So
And so like when you look at that, and it's pretty consistent when you look over P. Will's numbers, right? Like he's kind of okay. This guy, when he gets these shots, when he's getting more opportunity, he looks like he's showing out a little bit more, right? 6 for 14 the first time, 6 for 14 the second time, 9 for 14 today. I can kind of live with this P. Will as the third option. I think it opens up the question yet again, right? Like, is the problem with P. Will that people are ahead of him taking the shots? Is the problem with P. Will that he's not getting the opportunity to put up more shots because he's shooting it incredibly efficiently this season? But what I will say is this, and this is not to change my thought on P. Will or anything, but like tonight is for sure 200% the most aggressive game we've seen out of P. Will this season. He was attacking the rim all night long, even in moments where like just on shots, right? Somebody else shooting the ball. I saw P. Will diving almost every time. It was like watching Torrey Craig out there, or not Torrey Craig, watching Julian Phillips out there when he was making basically no impact, but he was just doing stuff off ball to try and make an impact. That's what I felt like we saw from P. Will. That's why he gets the putback jam at the end of the game, right? Like I thought that was a really good game for P. Will, really good defensively. At one point we had the Captain Carney lineup out there, right? It was they did, I think it was right before they went on the huge run that pretty much ended the game. Ayo Dosunmu came off of the screen and P. Will was right there to pick it up, and they screened again, and Dalen Terry picked it up and he ran right back into P. Will. And I was like, this is exactly what AK is in his office right now, losing his mind. He's like, look at the fingertips touching. But it's just it was a
tips.
Fingertips, just the tips. It was a good game for P. Will. Really enjoyed it, and I hope that he keeps the mindset up. And by the way, did anybody know that he could pass like that?
Yes, we've seen it briefly.
No. Like that. I knew he could pass. P. Will did a behind the back dribble, sidestep, 2-hand backwards pass out to the corner for 3 with 2 men on him. I was like, what? Who is this? Magic Williams? Like, what the heck am I looking at here, bro?
I think the thing we're seeing with Patrick Williams is that maybe not only is he being more aggressive, which is definitely, and I agree with your point, he's playing extremely aggressive, but maybe also the game is starting to slow down some for P. Will, and the mix of those two things are helping him find a way to impact the game in ways that he hasn't before. So P. Will is really growing, and I know Kobe White, rightfully so, is getting much a large part of the attention there, but P. Will is right up there with development as well, taking his game to the next step. Now, of course, we want to see it continue, right? And we want to see it be consistent, because one thing with P. Will, we see flashes of it, and then it won't be that. But this is probably the most consistent we've seen it from P. Will in the month of December right now, averaging 13.6 points per game, 50% shooting from the field, 52% shooting from three-point range, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, basically 1 block, a little under a steal per game. Patrick Williams is really affecting both sides of the ball right now, and he's not letting it affect his offense, which is something that we've always talked about, me and you here.
And the efficiency is just ridiculous. I mean, like from that last Miami game on, 8 for 10, 4 for 5 from 3, 5 for 13, 3 for 4 from 3, 6 for 10, 3 for 3 from 3, 7 for 11, 2 for 4 from 3, 5 for 11, 2 for 5 from 3, 9 for 14. He was 2 for 5 tonight from the 3-point line. Like offensively, he's being ridiculously efficient. It feels like the defense has come back. It feels like like you said, maybe it is that, right? Like maybe the game is suddenly slowing down for him at a time where he's getting more opportunity as well, right? Like it does feel, I'll say this, where before in the season, we had the conversation on, does it feel like the Bulls have much of a future? Right? When everybody was playing poorly. It wasn't just Zach LaVine, DeMar playing bad, Kobe playing bad. Kobe was playing okay, I guess. It didn't feel great. Patrick Williams was playing very subpar. The Bulls are losing left and right. Now it feels like even in losing efforts, there is something here that could be a future where maybe they're not superstar players, but can they get to being star level players? Can they get to be solid role players in the NBA, right? Like, listen, Alex Caruso ain't a star, but can Patrick Williams get to Alex Caruso levels of play, right? Like it feels like you're moving in the right direction with the young guys that you have. And I think that that's the one thing that Bulls fans feel really good about, right? Like nothing changed on this team people wise. the mindset, the ability, and all of that is finally getting the show on display. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of finish this whole thing out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this has been a great run that they've been on. Hopefully they continue it. Now fall to 9-5 since Zach LaVine is out. We got roughly about another 7 to 10 days before Zach LaVine theoretically is going to come back per the timeline that they gave. And we'll see what this Bulls team can do going forward, man. I listen. I know this loss sucked. It did.
This loss
We
did
got another game.
They reeled us back in.
Yeah, and we got another game Saturday against Philly. We'll see how the Bulls perform there.
Archangel said, "What is Pat saying? P. Will isn't a basic role player." I mean, Alex Caruso's a role player, guys. Come on now.
He's not a basic role player.
He's not a basic role player, but he is a role player. Is it what would we call Alex Caruso? A crucial role player.
Yeah. High level.
Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams is still a basic role player. Can he become a crucial role player? That's the question. Hey, man, before we get into this final topic, where Lonzo Ball injury update, ladies and gentlemen, Lonzo Ball forgot he was on the team a little bit, actually. I do have to tell you guys about PrizePicks, man. Listen, here's the thing with PrizePicks. For basketball season here, you can literally now pick combo projections across football and basketball. This is so cool because PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. The easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because it's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of people, including pros, sharks. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And remember, all those special combos I was telling you about, there is a league specifically created where you can include 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LeBron James and Travis Kelce at a 10.5 combo of 3-pointers made and receptions, and or Zion Williamson and awkwardly placed chest tattoos. You can also pick those over on PrizePicks. If you want to play alongside with some of PrizePicks favorites like rapper Meek Mill or comedian Andrew Schultz, you can now find a community under the promo tab of the app for entries with some of the biggest names in PrizePicks each and every week. So all you got to do is go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for the first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
All right, Pat, before we get out of here, man, right before the game started, I mean, literally, it was probably like 10 minutes before the tip-off, Billy Donovan came out and said that, hey, Lonzo Ball is pain-free for the first time since his surgery, and he plans to start running in January. Now, I want to be clear because I've seen people already take this and take it somewhere that it's not going to be. This does not mean that Lonzo Ball is going to be back on the basketball court playing for the Bulls this year. It still does not mean he's going to be back playing on the basketball court ever per se, but it is the next step of a rehab that they said is clearly going to take 18 to 20 months. So we're along that path. It means that he's progressing right now along the path that they expected him to after he had his cartilage replacement surgery. It's still long ways off before Lonzo Ball is even remotely considering playing basketball again. But at least for right now, he's making a step in the right direction. How you feel, Pat?
This started at 2 to 6 weeks. That's what I keep remembering about the Lonzo Ball situation, bro.
Remember? It was the initial 2 to 6 weeks, and then they tried to rehab him, and then it came. It's like, come on, bro. 2 to 6 weeks, and we're 2. It'll be 2 years in March, bro.
It started at 2 to 6 weeks. It's insane. I'm glad that Lonzo's feeling better. But we know how this goes. He's got to start ramping up. He's got to start running. He's got to start cutting. He's got to start jumping. Is he going to be able to do those things, right? Can't show me you doing leg squats, one leg squats, right? Where you're, trying to prove Stephen A wrong, talking about, I'm coming back, baby. When everybody was losing their mind, it's like, bro, we don't know what's happening on the other side of that camera, bro. That boy probably fell down the second he got into the house on that. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, my hope for Lonzo Ball at this point is to be able to live a normal life, because I think that the basketball ship has sailed to me. Now, if you come back, you prove us wrong, you get on the court, you play well, I love it. I love all of that. But I don't think that he'll return back to the player that he once was. I do think he'll have the IQ that he's always had, which I think will make a great impact on the court. I don't think that he'll jump the same. I don't think he'll be the same level of defender. I don't know if he'll have to adjust his shot. There's so many questions that go into Lonzo Ball returning to the court that, yes, I would love to see Lonzo Ball come back. But for me, to be 100% honest, I don't want to see Lonzo Ball get hurt again. So, like, I'm just like, hey, brother, you got $80 million out of the Bulls. Hang it up.
I mean, and that goes back to what me and you've talked about before, that this surgery that Lonzo Ball has had, it's not to get back to playing sports. It's a quality of life surgery.
Yeah.
So if he is able to get back on the court, he'd be making history as far as NBA players. Not to say that it can't happen or it hasn't happened in other sports, but like,
I was going to say, I think this would be the first person that came back if he has a sustained career.
Yeah, sustained career, be the first. So, it really comes down to, like I said, tempering those expectations. That is why I started off this segment talking about it the way that I did, because I've already seen people take this and be like, oh, that means he's coming back. And it's like, let's be clear here. That does not mean that at all right now. You can't say that. We're way too far off. We are still 8 months to a year before we're able to say that Lonzo Ball can come back.
Yeah, we're talking about beginning of next season at the earliest.
Yeah.
At the earliest, right? Like, it's not even what the latest is. I mean, we could be talking about Lonzo Ball being done for quite a bit of time. So I love Lonzo. I would love to see him back on the court. I love the IQ that he brings. I think that it's time for him to maybe look at a different way to impact basketball. But I'm also not going to tell somebody, don't get back out there and live your dream, right? If you can get back out there, if you can get back on the court, if you can go back out there and crush it, go back out there and crush it, bro. Like, dominate. But and understanding the risk, right? So he's taking a big risk getting back out there. But for me, as a Bulls fan, I just don't want to see him get hurt anymore. I want to see him be able to not have to walk with a limp for the rest of his life. When I heard pain-free, I was like, dope. He could play with his kids and run around behind them. That's the first thing I thought.
Great point there too. I mean, we'll see, man. I ultimately I hope the best for Lonzo. Whatever that ends up meaning, whatever that ends up being, I hope the best for him. If he's able to come back, cool. Come back. But I like I said before, and I said this over on Central, even if, let's say, the Lonzo Ball goes through this and they say, yeah, you are actually clear to go ahead and try to make a comeback for basketball, he's not coming back to being starter. He's not coming back and playing heavy minutes. He's going to come back not playing back-to-backs. You're looking at the best, the most optimal. If Lonzo Ball comes back next year, if he plays 40 games, that's a huge win for him.
I mean, he's off of the bench, right? Like, you wouldn't put him back in the starting lineup under any circumstances to me. I think even if Lonzo was able to come back and be healthy, it's still, hey man, like, you're our third point guard. Like,
he can't be worse than Javon Carter.
Oh my God, that's a whole nother situation, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought Javon Carter, you know what it is? It's like, it's not even that he's not this. He's definitely not the same player that he was when he was in Milwaukee. But it's so irritating because he's not even doing the things that he said he was going to do. Like, he tried to come in and give that Pat Bear vibe. Like, hey, we standing on business up in here, man. When the ball hit our hands, we letting it go. We not sitting here waiting for and then, like, every single game, I just look at him catch the ball in the corner, pump fake, pass out, or do like that side step, pull up three where you already out of the rhythm. Like, what happened? What happened to that dude that was beating
and
his
you talking about the shooting? To me, the thing that I thought, no matter what happened with Javon Carter, the thing I honestly thought we'd be getting is a dog defensively. And he has been pedestrian with some flashes, but it's been pedestrian defensively.
I feel like defensively, we haven't seen him out there against, like, we haven't seen him. What did he play? 12 minutes today? And I mean, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't good either. I guess pedestrian, right? Like, that's a good word for it. I guess pedestrian. Like, it has been worse than I thought. It's Javon Carter's whole Bulls tenure so far has just been moments.
So I just want to go over this, and this highlights. I know it's not everything. I want to be clear there. What do you think Javon Carter's highest defensive rating was? Keep in mind, high is bad for defensive rating in his career before this season with the Chicago Bulls.
110.
112. You know what it is this year with the Chicago Bulls?
117.
119.
He getting cooked.
He's getting cooked right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Javon Carter isn't. If his shot ain't falling, he's not offering us anything.
In his defense, though, he is also often in a lineup with Dalen Terry,
which should help his defensive rating.
Nah, Dalen had a good night. Like let's go. Dalen had a good night because his mom was in the building. Dalen been getting cooked too. Like we talking about a couple of games here. Like the hype around Dalen has been cracking me up a little bit because, like I get to actually listen to the games because I can't live call them. Right. Adam Amin was like, we've seen Dalen Terry contest a couple of shots. And it's like, what's he supposed to be doing, bro? Like he's supposed to be playing defense. He's not supposed to just be letting the shot go up.
You know what Dalen Terry's defensive rating is?
What is it?
110. That's league average.
Hey, man.
That's what I'm saying.
We're not going to act like we ain't seen Dalen Terry out there looking like
I'm not saying that Dalen Terry ain't get cooked at
we talk about these last 3 games. It probably helping a lot, bro. I don't know, man. Listen, I don't know, bro.
Javon Carter has been trash defensively.
Hey, we've been hyping up Dalen Terry these last 3 games like he really didn't did. So this is probably the best game.
Somebody said in the live stream of Central, they were like, Dalen Terry has arrived. I'm like, arrived where? He ain't even in the car yet. What are we talking about?
He ain't left the crib yet.
What are we arrived? If this is arrived for Dalen Terry, hey, bro, he's a bust. Like I don't think he's a bust, but I'm saying that if this is arrived for Dalen Terry, that's crazy.
Yeah. He was a plus 29, and it's a great night. This was a great night because this was one of the nights, weirdly enough, where plus minus actually showed something. Like I feel like everybody's like his plus minus was this, his plus minus was that. But when you see somebody's plus minus at an astronomical number, that actually means you did something.
Yeah,
a plus 29 is insane. That means you were impacting. That means you were impacting so many things on the floor that it just kept going up. But no, yeah, Dalen Terry has arrived. It's crazy, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Crazy. That's
Dalen Terry on a scooter trying to get home to get dressed to get in the car. Yeah, I mean,
that's crazy.
He ain't even made it to the crib yet.
Dalen Terry has arrived, bro. I've never read something so crazy. But anyway, bro, let's get up out of here, man.
Hey, man, follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer, and you can follow Dalen Terry. Never mind. Don't give me socials. Just get out of it. You can
follow me at CEO Haize, man. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. We are free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube and the Odyssey app. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. It's been Locked On Bulls, and we out here. Peace, y'all. You're not going to say bye to people?
I was reading a comment that said, I hate everyone on our team under 24. Our whole team is under 24. How's that possible? I'll let y'all later, man. Peace. On the way out.
By the way, Dalen Terry's mama's Instagram.
Okay. All right.
Fenice Yancey. If anybody wants to go ahead,
we got to get out of here, bro. Come on now. Demon time.